condition is his health condition is very poor. He's already on the surgery list, and the hospital where he is at presently admitted is the hospital where it's the mandatory hospital where everybody who's in Tihar jail or any accused who's in Tihar jail is supposed to be taken to. And therefore, the court has agreed to grant him interim bail for 6 weeks, and he's not allowed to speak to the media in this during this time period. And the medical reports from his treatment in this meanwhile have to be submitted before the Supreme Court by July 10th, and after that the Supreme Court will hear the matter, because we know Satyendar Jain has challenged his order by the Delhi High Court, which had refused to grant him bail in the money laundering case.
All right, so some relief, interim relief at that for Satyendar Jain, former Delhi minister, who has been granted interim bail by the Apex Court for 6 weeks. Srishti, thank you so much for joining us with those details. We're slipping into a short break. Coming up next, fight over free power and bus rides in Karnataka. BJP Neta says don't pay electricity bills. Opposition calls for mega protest.
You are watching India Today.
The heart of India's tech industry hosts a tectonic event. The latest updates in technology and innovation. The biggest names in Indian tech under one roof. From AI to 5G. From EVs to data security. Discover how technology is transforming our lives. Catch all the action at the BT Tech Today Congress in Bengaluru on June 2nd. Live across the Business Today multiverse.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees. Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
You are watching India Today.
News coming in right now. Siddaramaiah meets Rahul and Sonia over cabinet expansion. Key Congress meet ahead of likely oath-taking tomorrow. 20 Karnataka MLAs likely to take oath tomorrow. So the Chief Minister is in Delhi meeting with Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi. Those images on your screens right now of that photo of this ahead of cabinet expansion in the Karnataka government, which is expected tomorrow. 20 MLAs, we're told by our sources, are likely to take oath tomorrow. Remember, in the first tranche, the Chief Minister, the Deputy Chief Minister and 8 other mantris had been sworn in. Now, the government is all set to expand. 20 more MLAs are likely to take oath of office tomorrow. Siddaramaiah, on your screens right now, the Chief Minister of the state there meeting with Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi ahead of that likely oath-taking ceremony tomorrow. There was a tussle, remember, between Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar camps in order to ensure that loyalists from both camps found their place in the cabinet expansion plans of the Congress government in Karnataka. That same tussle had played out earlier as well. There was a lot of back and forth, of course, first over the Chief Minister's chair and then as to who'd find place in the new cabinet. We're slipping into a very short break now. Coming up next, politics rages on over new parliament launch. DMK MP says has begun to strip president's rights. Sena mouthpiece says president uninvited doesn't matter if he go or not.
You are watching India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mo.
Kerala's public health. All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Zypher returns with its 23rd edition. India Today brings you a fun riddle. 3 clues, one of them is false. Salman Khan is the star performer. Vicky Kaushal will host with wife Katrina. Manish Malhotra to showcase his collection. While you all figure this out, catch me, Dipali Patel, live from Abu Dhabi, unraveling the mystery one day at a time. Stars are aligned only on India Today.
Co-powered by
The world comes together at Sharda University.
A very good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. Our top focus right here this hour. The new Parliament building that will be inaugurated on Sunday, the 28th of May. Enough and more controversy surrounding it. I'm going to cut across to big breaking news coming in by Home Minister Amit Shah. The Home Minister lashing out at the Congress now over Sengol politics, asking why does the Congress hate Indian traditions? This is the Home Minister saying that Sengol's significance has been reduced to a mere walking stick. Amit Shah puts out a tweet. Why does the Congress party hate Indian traditions and culture so much? A sacred Sengol was given to Pandit Nehru by a holy seer from the Shaivite mutt in Tamil Nadu to symbolize India's freedom, but it was banished to a museum and relegated to a mere walking stick. Home Minister Amit Shah, as he puts out a tweet, lashing out at the Congress, questioning the Congress on why they hate Indian traditions so much. In fact, the opposition parties collectively, nearly 20 of them, have boycotted the Parliament inauguration by Prime Minister Modi, claiming that this is out of protocols, not following tradition. It's head of state. Ideally, the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, should be inaugurating the new Parliament building, but the BJP has been firefighting ever since. And when it comes down to this very Sengol that The Sengol that was handed over by the British to the first independent Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. This Sengol is now going to be reintroduced in the new Parliament building. Amit Shah questioning the Congress as to why it was kept away for as many years. Ever since 1947, this was pushed away, kept in a museum and branded as a mere walking stick. In fact, this Sengol signifies a lot more than just a mere walking stick. It is a symbol of transfer of power. That's precisely what the British looked at it as. They handed over the Sengol to Jawaharlal Nehru to signify that India is independent and the power now is transferred from the British to India. Here is the Home Minister Amit Shah, as there's much talk about the Sengol controversy surrounding it at this point. The Home Minister questioning the Sengol's significance. Why did the Congress reduce it to a mere walking stick? Maushmi joining us on the phone line for a little more. Maushmi, tell us a little about the Congress's viewpoint on the Sengol, which is now being reintroduced by the Modi government in the new Parliament building. The BJP accusing the Congress of relegating this to a mere walking stick and literally keeping this away for so many years. And it's now the BJP who's reintroduced it.
So clearly, Nabila, the Congress, in fact, Jairam Ramesh put out a tweet saying that there is no documentary evidence to say that the Sengol actually represented a shift in power or a transfer of power. And in fact, it was symbolic of a transfer of power between from Mountbatten to Nehru, while he handed that scepter to Nehru. So clearly, and also indicating that this is a part of the entire WhatsApp University drive of the BJP to divert from the lead core issue that this entire inauguration is an insult to the President of India. So the BJP trying to drive the attention or divert the attention to the Sengol and how it was insulted at Anand Bhavan by calling it a golden stick, while it was the most revered piece of symbol as far as the Chola dynasty was concerned. It was a celebration of the Hindu culture and rituals, and the Congress kept it in Anand Bhavan without remarking or without commemorating that piece of history. But the Congress outrightly, damning that and slamming the BJP for, manufacturing lies and again a manufactured script, in fact, to glorify the vanity project of the Prime Minister. Tit for tat, we've even seen Akhilesh Yadav jump into the argument. Even Akhilesh Yadav is slamming the BJP, and in fact, all the opposition parties who are boycotting it are not buying the argument that the BJP is trying to build. But Amit Shah, the Home Minister, clearly underlined the fact, the symbolic and historic value of the Sengol and why it will be kept in the Lok Sabha as a mark of respect, as a mark of the rich culture and tradition of India. In fact, we saw Akhilesh Yadav saying that this symbolizes, in fact, a transfer of power. And that really means that there is going to be a transfer of power from the BJP, and the BJP has admitted that. So interesting power play there, Nabila, in this entire, around this entire historic event.
Stay with us. We also have Akshay Dongre, who's right now joining us live right in front of the Congress office. Akshay, is there anyone with you who you've spoken with? What's the Congress's reaction to the BJP accusing them of disrespecting Hindu rituals and traditions with regards to this very Sengol? Even as the Congress now prepares to boycott this grand inauguration of the new Parliament building by Prime Minister Modi, the BJP has enough ammunition accusing the Congress of insulting not only the Parliament but also Hindu traditions by keeping this Sengol away, a very, very precious piece of history for so many years, not introducing it in the Parliament, not giving its due credit.
Absolutely, Nabila. In fact, I am right now at the All India Congress Committee headquarters, and as far as a response by the Congress party is concerned, Jairam Ramesh has already tweeted, but at 1 p.m. he will be holding a press conference on this very pertinent issue that has snowballed into a much larger controversy than it originally was when the Parliament inauguration dates were announced. As far as the installation of Sengol is concerned, nobody would have expected it to turn into such a big controversy. Both Union Home Minister Amit Shah and JP Nadda, the BJP president, have lashed out onto the Congress party. In fact, I have with me the tweet of JP Nadda in which he has alleged several things against the Congress party. They have said that the people and especially the political parties that are opposing the inauguration of the parliament are dynastic politics, the dynasty parties. In fact, I would just like to read out the statement by Mr. JP Nadda, in which he said that what connects most parties which are boycotting the inauguration of the new parliament building? The answer is simple. They are dynasty-run political parties whose monarchic methods are at loggerheads with the principle of republicanism and democracy of the country. So clearly there, JP Nadda stating that the Congress party, the other opposition parties who are boycotting the inauguration of the new parliament building are mainly the political parties that have problem with the Bharatiya Janata Party, and now in this entire inauguration they are also insulting the constitution as well as the democracy. So there is this one part of the tweet. In other things as well, he has said that those parties which are boycotting the parliament's inauguration lack any commitment to democracy because their sole aim is to perpetuate a select group of dynasties. So clearly here politics erupting 2 days ahead of the inauguration of the new parliament building.
And even as the Congress now almost galvanizing support from most opposition parties in the country, nearly 20 of them have decided to fully boycott this new parliament building's inauguration by Prime Minister Modi. Here's the BJP coming back at them, especially at the Congress, accusing them of disrespecting Indian tradition. Mashmi, tell us a little story or really the relevance behind this Sengol. As much as Jairam Ramesh says that there is no evidence that this was really symbolizing transfer of power from the British to India, you had various people who were, in fact, the makers of the Sengol itself, all hailing from Tamil Nadu. One of the ladies who are India Today, Shivarur itself interviewed just last evening, specifically wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, the Home Ministry, saying that there is something like this called a Sengol, and it's been made in Tamil Nadu. It was handed over by Sir and to the British, then the British to Jawaharlal Nehru. There's a whole history and a story behind it. The Congress now saying there's no court or there's no proof or relevance of this Sengol. Is this a way to duck this entire controversy?
See, Nabila, it's very interesting because there is a lot of play of words here by the BJP and the Congress, and the viewers must understand. The Sengol is very revered. It is, of course, a symbol of the Chola dynasty. During that time, it was brought by train in 1947 to Delhi, and it was brought in by Sears, who actually, got it because it was given to the keeper of power, who was the ruler during the Chola dynasty. So, as a mark of respect, as a mark of honor, it was given to the ruler of the country, of that land, and thereby it came to Nehru. And here, the BJP and the Modi government have spoken about how this was given to Nehru. In fact, Amit Shah elaborating that it was handed over by Mountbatten to Nehru as a transfer of power, because at that point of time, Mountbatten actually asked many of them, the officers and the bureaucrats, what could symbolize a transfer of power, a shift of power. And then the Sengol was actually remembered. But it's also interesting that JP Nadda goes on to tweet about dynastic politics when the Sengol actually represented the Chola dynasty. So, each party to their own, are trying to pick up points and actually send across a message. The BJP's big message here is that here is a party, a nationalistic party, a nationalistic government, a patriotic government that is trying to revive the rich culture and tradition and commemorate the rich culture and tradition of India. And in fact, the Congress, on the other hand, is saying that its drum beating about the Sengol is only one of the other examples of how BJP is a master in diverting the topic from the core issue. And hereby, the people should not buy that message from the BJP. But all said and done, behind me, Nabila, you can see this historic building. And as I said, this will be a shift of power from the old to the new on my left, on the 28th. That will be a truly historic moment because,
some of those opposition parties claim that they're not going to be using the parliament building. If they come to power, they won't use the parliament building. Don't know how far that's possible. But we see that the opposition has now come together as a united front, at least 20 of them. About 3-4 opposition parties who have said that they will be attending this inauguration. The rest of them are going to be boycotting it. Politics now has erupted over the Sengol. Even as the opposition parties gears up to boycott this parliament inauguration, here's the BJP firing back at the Congress over the Sengol that's being reintroduced in the new parliament building. Congress MP though, Jairam Ramesh, responding to the BJP's allegations, has really questioned the veracity of this story of Lord Mountbatten handing over the Sengol to the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, claiming that the story of Rajaji or C. Rajagopalachari describing the scepter as a symbol of transfer of British power to India is complete bogus. Jairam Ramesh calls this entire story a manufactured one. He further accused the Prime Minister of misusing the scepter for political gains in Tamil Nadu. Hitting back at the Congress's claims, MOS Rajiv Chandrasekhar has accused the Grand Old Party of shamelessly buying into this tradition and the history of scepter.
I wonder if Jairam Ramesh is referring to the HR&CE policy note of 2021-22 published by his own allies government, the DMK government, proudly recounting the Sengol ceremony of 1947 as a part and parcel of WhatsApp University. And leave it to the Congress, they might even call Mahatma Gandhi's Ram Rajya Satyamev Jayate as communal. So please, let's ask Mr. Jairam Ramesh why he did a U-turn on his 2012 stand on the Parliament building, and please ask him about the HR&CE note of the DMK government published in 21-22, which signifies and symbolizes the importance of the Sengol in 1947. Perhaps that would not qualify as WhatsApp University history for him.
What is Sengol? Whether it is transfer, it is a symbol of transfer of power or what? But important thing is, this Sengol was, how did we get it? After so long, our freedom fighters fought, then we got it. Who got it? Jawaharlal Nehru. Mountbatten had handed it over to Jawaharlal Nehru. How can Narendra Modi ji say that we are insulting it? They don't have respect for those who have sacrificed for the country. And their real face, we can see that they are going to inaugurate on the birthday of Savarkar, not on the birthday of Gandhiji.
All right, all that said and done, the stage now is all set for the unveiling of this new parliament building by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will be inaugurating this building on Sunday. The inaugural ceremony will indeed witness historic traditional rituals, including the placing of the golden scepter, the Sengol. What will be happening on Sunday? We break that down for you in this special report. Let's have a look.
The stage is set for the inauguration of the much-awaited new Parliament building. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will open doors to the new Temple of Democracy on Sunday. Sengol, the golden scepter, which will adorn the new Parliament, has become the talk of the town.
When you designed this, when you were...
India Today spoke to the makers of the prestigious Sengol, the family of Vumidi Bangaru Chetty.
Installed in a Parliament building.
It took us more than 15 to 20 days. It will take more time, but the people, the technicians are also so interested. They made it easy for us because it is connected with the high hierarchy, and then it was so made. Inscription and all were given by the Adhinam. Okay. And the Nandi was also selected by the Adhinam. And then the carvings, of course, we did it. Now, we were told that the Sengol is a transferring symbol of transferring power from one this thing to another recipient.
The inauguration ceremony will feature many Tamil rituals. It will begin with an early morning havan and multi-religion prayer. Priests from Adhinams or centuries-old Shaiviti mutts in Tamil Nadu will also be present in Lok Sabha. They will purify the Sengol with holy water. The ceremonial scepter will then be handed over to Prime Minister Modi.
செங்கோல் செய்து கொண்டாந்துருக்கேன். அதை மோடி கிட்ட கொடுத்து அதை பார்லிமெண்ட்டில் வைக்கணும். அவங்க அழைப்பின் பேரில் தான், அவங்க அரசாங்கம் அழைப்பின் பேரில் தான் வந்திருக்கு.
A group playing the Nadaswaram will lead a procession and Prime Minister Modi is expected to walk along with them. The second leg of the event, which will begin afternoon, will see screening of 2 short films. Special commemorative coins and stamps will be released on the occasion. The event will conclude after Prime Minister Modi's address. Bureau Report, India Today.
And just as the Congress and multiple opposition parties gear up to boycott this parliament inauguration, BJP chief JP Nadda now training his guns on the Congress. Nadda launches dynasty attack on the opposition, says the opposition really lacks commitment to democracy. Opposition parties must introspect. This is JP Nadda who's firing at the opposition parties, particularly the Congress, accusing them of dynasty politics. I'm cutting across to Mashmi for more on that. Mashmi, what's the reason for the BJP national president to accuse Congress of dynasty politics? It's not a new statement or an allegation that's been fired on the Congress party. But just as a bunch of the opposition parties gear up to boycott this new parliament building, we hear JP Nadda firing dynasty politics, or a dynasty party itself, attacking the Congress with that remark.
So as I said, Nabila, the BJP is just stepping up the attack. You saw Amit Shah yesterday, how he lashed out at the Congress party in Assam, saying that the Congress party was still delusional. They were still living in that era where they believed that they were in power and they could never accept Prime Minister Narendra Modi had won not once but twice with a thumping majority. And if they go on like that, then right now they've lost even the position of the lead opposition party in the parliament, and they'll fare terribly in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. He also went on to say that this is a dedication to the nation. The parliament is for the people of the country to make laws, and it is actually a part of the rich culture and tradition of democracy, and thereby to boycott the inauguration ceremony is just the high-handedness of the Congress party. So thereby he also elaborated about how many chief ministers and Congress leaders, including Sonia Gandhi and the then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, had inaugurated several assemblies and constitutional buildings. Thereby, the BJP president JP Nadda putting out that tweet to in fact sharpen the attack on the Congress party, clearly saying that the Congress yet again was living in its own world and did not respect the democratic culture and traditions and did not want to participate in the thriving democratic event that will happen on the 28th. So clearly, this is a part of the series of attacks. We've seen Rajiv Chandrasekhar also tweet out. Nirmala Sitharaman has said that this is also a celebration of the Tamil Nadu culture, and thereby the Congress and the opposition parties, including the DMK, are trying to demean that culture. So clearly, the battle lines are drawn, Nabila, and this argument is going to continue unabated.
And this will continue, considering it's just barely 2 days for the inauguration of the new parliament building. You already see the opposition parties accusing the BJP of not following rules, protocols, tradition, and a fitting reply that the BJP has found to blame the Congress of disrespecting Hindu culture and tradition by relegating that Sengol to a mere walking stick. On both ends, we see guns being trained as barely 2 days to go for this inauguration of the new parliament building. Huge political showdown there over the inauguration by Prime Minister Modi of this new parliament building that will happen on the 28th of May. BJP has slammed the opposition. In fact, all the opposition collectively, mostly 20 parties, barring 3 or 4 who are going to be attending that event, the BJP accusing them of disrespecting the parliament and democracy itself. While Home Minister Amit Shah slamming the Congress for politics of negativity, Union Ministers Rajnath Singh, S. Jaishankar have called on the opposition now to rethink their boycott calls, urging them not to politicize this event. Meanwhile, at least 20 opposition parties stand firm on their boycott call, saying the BJP has insulted President Draupadi Murmu by not asking her to inaugurate the parliament building instead of Prime Minister Modi. Meanwhile, the slugfest over Modi inaugurating this new parliament building has now reached the apex court. Supreme Court now finds itself to look into a plea arguing that Prime Minister's inauguration here has violated the constitution and insulted President of India Draupadi Murmu.
संसद भवन का उद्घाटन एक ऐतिहासिक अवसर है जो अब 21वीं सदी में दोबारा नहीं आने वाला है और इस शुभ अवसर पर संसद या राष्ट्रपति को विवाद में लाने से किसी को भी बचना चाहिए। संवैधानिक सत्र और सार्वजनिक समारोह का अंतर समझना चाहिए। राजनीतिक विरोध के अनेक अवसर आते जाते रहेंगे और मैं यही आग्रह करूंगा कि जिन दलों ने समारोह के बहिष्कार का निर्णय लिया है वे अपने फैसले पर राजनीतिक लाभ हानि से परे जाकर वह पुनर्विचार करें और इस समारोह में भाग लेकर ऐतिहासिक क्षण के वह साक्षी बने।
मुझे तो लगता है कि जो उद्घाटन जो हो रहा है होगा, ये लोकतंत्र का एक उत्सव है और हमें उस स्पिरिट में लेना चाहिए। ये विवाद का विषय नहीं बनना चाहिए। ये दुर्भाग्य है अगर ये बनता है और ये मुझे आप जानते हैं कि कुछ लोगों की ये कोशिश है, पर मुझे लगता है कि राजनीति की भी कुछ सीमा होनी चाहिए और कम से कम ऐसे मौके पे हम पूरे देश को सब मिलजुल कर इसको मनाना चाहिए।
The president is the one who convenes parliament, who prorogues parliament, who dissolves parliament, who calls elections and so on. It would be extremely unwise in the view of many people for the president to be left out of inaugurating the parliament that may be our building for the next 100 years. So for this reason, it becomes extremely important to respect both points of view.
We are concerned and deeply, genuinely concerned about the soul of democracy, the soul of parliament, which is the Constitution of India, the heartbeat of parliament. If the heartbeat of parliament is under threat, what should we be fighting for? The building or the health? So we are fighting for the health of democracy. We are fighting for the Constitution of India.
पार्लियामेंट का इनॉग्रेशन है, नई पार्लियामेंट की बिल्डिंग का इनॉग्रेशन है, तो जो हम पूछते कहाँ गए वो लोग? अब अटल जी नहीं है, इंदिरा जी नहीं है, बड़े बड़े नेता नहीं है, अब बचे हैं आडवाणी जी। तो क्या उनको बुलाया है? नहीं, जैसे राष्ट्रपति को नहीं बुलाया। पूरी जिंदगी आडवाणी जी की पार्लियामेंट के परिसर में गई है। और दूसरी बात है कि आज जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी को जो अच्छे दिन दिख रहे हैं, उसके पायोनियर पार्लियामेंट में तो आडवाणी साहब ही है ना। सरकार तो कहाँ लोकतंत्र को, डेमोक्रेसी को मानती है या संविधान को मानती है? वो तो ऐसा ही चलेगा।
সংসদের নতুন বিল্ডিং উদ্বোধন হচ্ছে, ভারতবর্ষের রাষ্ট্রপতিকে ডাকা হচ্ছে না কেন? তিনি একজন এসটি সম্প্রদায়ের প্রতিনিধি। ভারতবর্ষের যদি পার্লামেন্টের নতুন বিল্ডিং উদ্বোধন হয় কার করা উচিত? প্রধানমন্ত্রী না রাষ্ট্রপতি? সেই রাষ্ট্রপতিকে উদ্বোধনে ডাকা তো দূরের কথা, তার নাম পর্যন্ত ইনভিটেশন কার্ডে নেই।
As we see all the politics boiling around the new parliament building, it's barely 48 hours before inauguration of this sprawling new parliament building standing right next to the old one. The inauguration event, which will begin with a grand puja at 7 a.m. on Sunday, will continue for a couple of hours Sunday morning. Sengol, the much talked about scepter, which will be brought into the new Parliament House, will be brought in through a procession, which will be handed over to the Prime Minister, who will then install it in a glass case, which will be placed right next to the Speaker's podium. Prime Minister Modi will also launch a commemorative rupees 75 coin, marking 75 years of independence. The coin will have a new Parliament building's image. It will also have an Ashoka emblem marked on it. All right, some big news coming in on the Parliament inauguration, a plea that was filed before the Supreme Court. Supreme Court now refuses to entertain that plea, saying, we know why you filed such petitions. We are not inclined to entertain this. Supreme Court almost slamming that plea that's been filed by an advocate in the Supreme Court, asking to review or relook, or rather send out an instruction to the Government of India to allow President Draupadi Murmu to inaugurate this Parliament building, as it is the temple of democracy, and as per tradition and protocols, it's ideally the head of state, which is Draupadi Murmu, who should be inaugurating the Parliament building and not Prime Minister Modi. This plea was filed in the Supreme Court, with the Supreme Court now looking into it, saying, we know why you filed such petitions. We are not inclined to entertain this. We know why you filed these petitions. We are not inclined to entertain this. A big statement coming out by the Supreme Court. As it appears, the Supreme Court now not wanting to look into this petition, possibly does not hold good before the court of law. And it appears everything's on schedule. 28th of May, the Prime Minister will be inaugurating the new Parliament building. And this was one hurdle that could have blocked this inauguration. But it appears that Supreme Court too not wanting to entertain this, almost casting aspersions on the intentions of the petitioner. Let me cut across to Nalini, who's tracking court for us. Nalini, a quick word from you. We see that the court, the Supreme Court, the top court, has refused to entertain this petition and also said, if I could quote here, we know why you file such petitions. This is raising questions on the petitioner's intentions itself. The Supreme Court says we are not inclined to entertain this petition here. What does this signify?
Well, yes, Nabila, the Supreme Court clearly said that they know as to why these PILs come before the court, and there is no reason for the court to interfere in this matter. They've also asked the advocate on what basis he's filed the petition, and what was claimed by the advocate was that as per the Constitution and provisions of the Constitution, it is the President who shall address the first session each year of the Parliament, the joint session of the Parliament. It is the President who should address them. But at the same time, the court has said that inauguration of the new building has got nothing to do with the first address of the Parliament, and there is no reason as to why the court should interfere in this matter. So essentially, the court has now gone ahead and paved the way for the new building of the Parliament to be inaugurated by the Prime Minister, as has been decided by the government. They found no reason to go ahead and interfere with this case. It was a public interest litigation that was filed by one of the advocates before the Supreme Court, asking specifically for directions to be issued to the Lok Sabha Secretariat, saying that the President should be the one who should come and inaugurate the Parliament building. But there is no such order coming in from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court categorically said that there is no reason for court interference in this matter, and it's left up to the government to decide exactly what is the best possible way in which this should be done.
Tell us more about the petition itself, the plea before the Supreme Court, Nalini. What does it really claim? We know a few points that we've been flashing on our screens, where the petition raises questions on the intentions behind the Government of India of trying to sidestep President Draupadi Murmu and push for Prime Minister Modi to be inaugurating that temple of democracy, calling this unconstitutional and whatnot. There were a list of reasons to why the petitioner gave that this should be stopped with immediate effect. Do break it down for us.
Well, Nabila, the main contention that was raised in this public interest litigation that was filed by one of the advocates from Tamil Nadu was that the constitution is not being respected if it is not the president who is being asked to come ahead and inaugurate the parliament building. And all of the arguments, short arguments that have been put forth before the Supreme Court vacation bench have also been on this aspect that Article 78 and 79 of the constitution specifically mention how it is the president that should address the first joint session of the parliament. And keeping that in mind, this PIL was filed before the Supreme Court because they said that the Lok Sabha Secretariat needs to be issued directions by the Supreme Court to call the president to come forth and inaugurate the new parliament building because the president will be the head of the executive in this case. But at the same time, the Supreme Court has said, first of all, they doubted the intentions of the petitioner to come to the court. They also went ahead and made a statement saying that we know why such petitions are filed before the court, hinting at the fact that these are not public interest litigations, rather publicity interest litigations that have been filed before the Supreme Court. And several times earlier also, the Supreme Court has said that they will not allow the court to become a platform for publicity through such petitions. So it was an expected lines that the petition has been dismissed. But what we are also getting to know is that the lawyer has requested the court for him to be given permission to withdraw the petition so that there is no official order regarding the dismissal of the petition on record. So the court has agreed to allow him to withdraw the petition, but at the same time they've asked him if he has any intention to go to the High Court, because in case he withdraws the petition from the Supreme Court, he has the liberty to then approach the High Court in a similar petition. But to that, the advocate has said that no, he will not be moving the High Court with a similar petition, and after that assurance, he has been allowed to withdraw his petition from the top court. The order has been dictated by the Supreme Court now. The petition has been dismissed as withdrawn, which means that the court will not be interfering in this aspect at all as to who should be the one who should inaugurate the parliament, and the decision, rightly so, has been left completely up to the government to decide.
It's been left to the government, but did the plea highlight some legal points there on how this allegedly is an illegal move by the BJP to allow for a Prime Minister, head of government, to inaugurate the Parliament building? Could you highlight that for us? What exactly were the points that that the petitioner called as illegal of this move to inaugurate this Parliament building? Prime Minister Modi inaugurating this is illegal, is what the petitioner said. So how, in his view, was it illegal?
Well, there were three main things in this regard, Nabila, that the petitioner through his PIL had told the Supreme Court. Let's remember there was a PIL because obviously nobody's individual rights in any matter had been violated in this case, which is why it was filed in form of a PIL. But there were three main things said. First, it was said that the government has specifically excluded the president from the inauguration ceremony, that the president is not going to be present there, despite the fact that a message by the president is going to be read out. And they said that by excluding the president from the inauguration ceremony, the government is not only disrespecting the Indian constitution, but they are also disrespecting the office of the president. They also went ahead and said that the provisions of the Indian constitution are not being followed and the Indian constitution is being disrespected. But exactly as to what provision they say is not being followed through this, they were not able to elaborate before the Supreme Court, which is essentially why the Supreme Court did not find any justifiable grounds in even hearing this petition in a detailed manner. They had allowed very short arguments so that the advocate does not feel that he in fact has been prejudiced against in any way on the basis of his petition. So like everybody gets a fair hearing before the Supreme Court, he was given a short hearing, but because there were no established points of law that he could place before the court exactly in which manner the constitution is in fact being disrespected, the only point raised by the petitioner who was appearing in person before the Supreme Court was the fact that according to Article 78 and 79 of the Constitution, it is the President who should address the first session of the Parliament. But in this case, there is no session of the Parliament that is actually being conducted. It's a simple inauguration of the new building of the Parliament, and though unprecedented because it's happening after several years that a Parliament is getting a new building, but at the same time, the session of the Parliament is not officially underway, which is why there is no applicability of either Article 78 or 79 in this entire case, which is why the Supreme Court has said that there is no reason for the court to interfere. At the same time, they've also not found any justifiable grounds to entertain the fact that there is any disrespect to the office of the president in this case, as was claimed by the petitioner in his PIL. They've clearly said that it is up to the government to decide how this needs to be conducted, and if the government has decided that the Prime Minister needs to inaugurate the new building, that should be allowed to happen. That, of course, has not come out verbatim from the Supreme Court, but that is the implication of the order that has now been passed by the Supreme Court. Like I told you earlier, the petition has been dismissed as withdrawn because at the last minute, when the advocate realized that the petition is going to get dismissed, he withdrew it before there could be an official order for dismissal. But at the same time, the statement from the Supreme Court is very clear that there will be no court intervention in this, especially on the 11th hour, because the inauguration is happening on the 28th of May itself, on Sunday. So at the 11th hour, there will be no intervention from the Supreme Court on this aspect, and the inauguration will continue as has been planned already.
All right, so a big win here for the Modi government, undoubtedly, even as the opposition mounted pressure. There was enough surround sound around how this was allegedly an illegal move and this was sidestepping the constitution by the BJP. Here, the Supreme Court itself, the top court now, paving the way for the BJP government and Prime Minister Modi himself to inaugurate that new swanky parliament building on the 28th of May. Anisha Mathur is also joining us right outside the Supreme Court to give us more on that. Anisha, give us the names of the petitioners, those who filed the plea before the Supreme Court, accusing the BJP government of unconstitutional move by allowing the Prime Minister, the head of government, to inaugurate this parliament building versus the head of state, Draupadi Murmu, the president, to be inaugurating this ideally.
Well, Nabila, this petition had been filed by a Tamil Nadu-based advocate who practices in the Supreme Court, C.R. Jayasukin, who had, in his petition, pointed out that under Article 79 and 87 of the Constitution of India, it is the president who calls the parliament session. It is the president who addresses the first session of the parliament each year. And his argument was that since the president is the head of the parliament, it is the president of India who is constitutionally the head of the country. It is the president who should be inaugurating this particular session, this particular building. However, the Supreme Court had a very clear question to ask, that we agree with your argument that the president addresses the session, that the parliament is prorogued or called by the president. But what does that have to do with inauguration? What does this have to do with this particular ceremony that you're objecting to at this stage? And that after that question, the court very clearly pointed out that we're not inclined to interfere in this particular matter because what is happening here, the issue that is happening here is of inauguration of a building. It has nothing to do with the president's constitutional powers or the president's constitutional position. And the court very clearly said this is not something that the Supreme Court can go into. So very clearly, this seems to be a win for the government of India, as there was a lot of opposition voices talking about the same thing. This petition, of course, filed by a lawyer in the Supreme Court, pointing out the constitutional position of the president, but the Supreme Court taking the stand that constitutionally, yes, the president is the head of government, the Prime Minister is the head of the executive function of the government, but this particular event that is being objected to has nothing to do with the president's constitutional powers to address the parliament, and therefore the Supreme Court does not believe that there is any reason for the court to interfere because they do not see any constitutional violation in this matter. Remember, this petition very clearly had argued that because of Article 79, because of the position of the president, if this inauguration is not done by the president, it would be a violation of constitutional principles, and that has been very clearly rejected by the Supreme Court's verification bench. Back to you.
Right, so here it appears a full signal, a green signal for Prime Minister Narendra Modi at this point to be inaugurating the new parliament building. It's a matter of pride for the country, Anisha. In fact, this is precisely what the BJP government have been saying, that the opposition parties have found faults without a reason, even as they quote many sections in the constitutional books and the law, citing that this is an illegal move. The Supreme Court itself says there is no harm in an inauguration ceremony by the head of government. This is not an assembly session. It's only a mere puja, an inaugural ceremony, which the government has gone on to invite all the opposition parties for as well. And yet it seems like the opposition have now come together as one unit to unanimously boycott this parliament inauguration, condemning it, calling this illegal, whatnot. So this comes as a huge breather. and a big boost to the BJP at this point, because they have spent crores of rupees right in the height of the pandemic. There was the project was given clearance, and it finally has come into fruition. It is looking stunning. We see how the structure looks there. This was one hurdle that was looming large, and it seems like that too has now, that problem has also been solved. The Supreme Court itself giving a good go-ahead for the BJP to carry out this inauguration by Prime Minister Modi. The opposition being blamed for disrespecting the parliament. All right, stay with us. I have Sanjay Hegde joining us on the phone line. Mr. Sanjay, give us a little legal perspective. As you see here, the Supreme Court itself refusing to entertain the plea, saying we know very well why you come up with these kind of petitions. We will not entertain it. This is a mere inaugural ceremony. There's no issue with the Prime Minister himself inaugurating it.
The Supreme Court entertaining or not entertaining a petition settles no law. The first thing is, was there a legal question here? The Supreme Court feels that there is no particular legal question, and it also follows the tradition of the Supreme Court that it does not necessarily get pulled into the political vortex of the day. There is a doctrine called the political tickets doctrine. The Supreme Courts all over the world try to steer as clear of politics as possible.
Right. As we see here, Mr. Sanjay, the Supreme Court says that this is almost casting aspersions on the petitioner's intentions, saying, we know why you come up with petitions like this. Don't come to us for this kind of publicity. Clearly, the Supreme Court has not seen merit in this plea at all.
The Supreme Court may not have found merit with the petition. It may not have found merit with the petitioner also. Yes, it is a truth that many public interest petitions are filed for that brief flash of publicity, and maybe the Supreme Court perceived that this petition, as drawn, appeared to reek of a publicity-seeking enterprise, and the Supreme Court wanted no part of it. There are certain questions which are legal, there are certain questions which are political. The Supreme Court doesn't settle political questions. It only goes into issues if there is a question of illegality. At the end of the day, there is a building which is completed. The building has to be inaugurated. It is not somebody who is totally alien to the process who is inaugurating it. You are not in the kingdom to inaugurate it. So, the Supreme Court did not.
We also have PDT Achari, former Secretary General Lok Sabha, who's also joining us on the phone line. Mr. Achari, we see the Supreme Court has given a good go-ahead for the BJP to hold that inauguration by Prime Minister Modi itself, saying we don't entertain such pleas at the last minute, and almost nullifying that petition that was placed before the Supreme Court. A big boost to the BJP. How would you look at it?
Look, Supreme Court has not given a go-ahead to anybody. Supreme Court has merely dismissed the petition because it has no merit at all. So there was no issue which the Supreme Court should have decided. So there is no issue. There was no legal issue before the Supreme Court. It doesn't involve any kind of legal issue. Therefore, Supreme Court has rightly dismissed it. That's how it is.
Mr. Achari, all the opposition parties, the opposition parties at this point claiming that this is illegal, we are going to boycott it, this is showing disrespect of the BJP and high-handedness of the government and Prime Minister Modi. How would you look at it? Opposition parties now unanimously staying away from this inauguration ceremony, barring 3-4 of them.
That is a decision taken by the political parties, and they have their own, they have absolute right to
do they have merit in their statement?
No, they have a right to decide about boycott or other things, and every political party is free to decide what stand they should take on this issue. But so far as inauguration of the Parliament building is concerned, it is In our system, it is the Prime Minister who takes all decisions. And the Prime Minister has decided that he will inaugurate it. That is the matter. So far as that issue is concerned. Of course, it has many political angles. And they have, opposition says, President being the head of the state and also a part of Parliament, the President should have inaugurated it. Well, that is a point of view which has force. But then the point is, these are all decided by the Prime Minister only, because Prime Minister is the person who is the most powerful office in this country. And therefore, Prime Minister decides it, and that is the end of the matter.
All right. Are you going to be part of this? Have you got an invite, Mr. Acharya?
I do not know. I have not received any invitation.
So you're going to stay away?
No, I have spent 40 years in Parliament, So
yeah.
Parliament is nothing new to me. I'm familiar with all the areas.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Acharya, for joining us on that. Nalini, for more on that. Nalini, the reason to why I asked Mr. Acharya if the opposition parties and their claims, allegations against the BJP have merit or not, he says it's up to them. But ultimately, when you really look at the opposition, you would assume that they have made these allegations against the BJP based on some kind of legality. But if the Supreme Court has refused to entertain this petition at all, it almost looks like this petition had no merit. If the petitioner has quoted some sections of the legal book saying that this is a violation of these laws, then and the Supreme Court not looking into it, we're still slightly confused on where is the fault? Is it the petitioner at fault or?
Well, Nabila, one important aspect that we need to remember is that often when any political issue reaches the court, the lines between politics and legality tend to get a little bit blurred. But what we need to remember in this case is that none of the opposition parties or any of the leaders, political leaders from the opposition parties were the one to approach the Supreme Court, possibly because they understood that this is not a legitimate issue needing intervention from the court of law, nonetheless, at least the Supreme Court of India. So keeping that in mind, it was none of the political parties or the opposition parties that had approached the Supreme Court. Instead, it was a PIL that was filed by one of the lawyers from Tamil Nadu who had filed this petition before the Supreme Court, asking for this decision to be overturned and for specific directions to be issued to the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Now, the first question, understandably so, that the Supreme Court had asked the petitioner was what was its locus to file this petition and why was it a PIL that was filed? How is inauguration of the Parliament building a matter of public interest is one of the main questions that the Supreme Court had raised in this matter. And obviously keeping in mind that not only that the petition was poorly drafted, but also that there were no justifiable or valid legal grounds on which this decision of the government had been challenged in the very first place is why this petition has essentially been dismissed. Like you very correctly pointed out, there is no point of law on the basis of which this entire decision can be challenged until and unless the petitioner who is approaching the court can actually show how somebody's rights are being violated through this decision of the government. But because such a thing could not be shown by the petitioner, additionally, the grounds that he had raised, the fact that the office of the president is being disrespected, or the fact that the provisions of the constitution are not being followed, none of them he was able to validate before the Supreme Court vacation bench, even though the bench gave him an opportunity to at least place his arguments before the court to see as to whether there is something that they have overlooked or something new that the petitioner will be able to argue. But understanding that there are no legal justifiable grounds, the court has gone ahead and dismissed this petition, and like I told you, it's been done rightly so, because there was no merit in this plea for the court to actually interfere. For the court to interfere in any matter, there has to be something wrong prima facie regarding the order that is being challenged before the court of law.
Right.
And because there was no illegality that was witnessed by the court at all in this aspect, they have rightly so refused to interfere and said that this petition will not be entertained. In fact, Nabila, they've also gone on to tell the petitioner that he should be glad that no costs are being imposed on him, because irrespective of the fact as to what the petition said, one thing was clear that it was a publicity interest petition and not a public interest petition that was filed before it.
That's a huge statement coming out by court calling this a publicity interest petition and not a PIL itself. Thank you very much, Nalini and Anisha Mathur, for joining us on that. Slipping into a short break. Right after that, IT department tightens the news around the Gandhi family. Central agency is now to probe whether Gandhi's evaded tax. More on that on the other side. Stay with us.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mode.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mode.
Big news coming in and a setback to the Gandhi family, it appears. The IT department itself tightens the noose around the Gandhis. The Central Circle now is all set to probe whether Gandhis evaded tax. The decision based on search and seizures conducted. In fact, this comes on the heels of the Delhi High Court rejecting the Gandhis' petition. The Gandhis, including Rahul, Sonia and Priyanka Gandhi, had in fact appealed before the High Court, the Delhi High Court, petitioning in the petition, asking the High Court to stop the income tax the department's decision to transfer their tax assessments to the Central Circle instead of an ordinary assessment. And it appears now that the Delhi High Court has rejected the petitions there. The Central Circle is all set to probe, indeed, whether the Gandhis evaded tax. Let me cut across to Nalini for more on that. Nalini, does it look like a setback for the Gandhis? It appears a more intense search by the Central Circles on tax evasion allegations against the Gandhis.
Well, yes, Nabila, no doubt about the fact that the Gandhis have been put in the dock when it comes to their allegations regarding tax evasion with respect to 5 non-profit properties along with their personal taxes also. Now, essentially what this order of the Delhi High Court means is that the order that was passed by the IT department that had transferred the probe from a faceless assessment for the Gandhis to something called the Central Circle, which means that there will be human intervention when it comes to probing the aspects as to whether or not the Gandhis in fact did evade tax. What the Central Circle also does is that it works very closely with the investigation department of the investigation IT department to ascertain as to whether or not the search and seizures that have been conducted, whether there is any evidence for prosecution to be initiated against these persons. So it definitely means that there is going to be greater income tax heat on the Gandhis, not just the Gandhis. In fact, this includes Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, along with 5 non-profit properties that includes the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, the Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust, the Sanjay Gandhi Memorial Trust, Young Indian and the Jawahar Bhavan Trust. Along with these, the Aam Aadmi Party is also in the dock because all of them had challenged the decision of the IT department to transfer the probe to the Central Circle, stating that this is only done in rarest of rare cases. But the court has upheld the order of the IT department, which means that there will be greater scrutiny of as to whether or not tax was evaded, not just by the Gandhi family, but also the Aam Aadmi Party.
All right, Nalini, thank you very much for joining us on that. This seems like a more intense search and thorough investigation into tax evasion allegations on the Gandhis will be conducted now by the Central Circles. Now, we're slipping into a short break. Right after that, we're going to bring to you a lot more on the politics that's erupted around the new Parliament building, especially the Sengol. The Sengol that's going to be placed in the new Sansad. The BJP accusing the Congress of relegating that precious piece of history as a mere walking stick. In fact, the BJP says history was shamelessly buried by the Congress party. We're going to take you through the significance of that Sengol, what really happened with that, right after a short break on the other side. Stay with us.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mo. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Powered by The World Comes Together at Sharda University.
Very good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. We're looking at all the politics that's now erupted over the symbolic scepter, the Sengol, which is now going to be placed in the new parliament building by the BJP. The BJP accusing the Congress of disrespecting Hindu rituals by calling that symbol a mere walking stick. I'm going to take you through that top news, the headlines first. Politics there erupting over the Sengol in the new Sansad after Congress accuses BJP of spreading fake narratives over the Sengol. Home Minister Amit Shah hits out at the Congress, says Sengol has been only reduced to a mere walking stick by the Congress, shows their disrespect. 48 hours before the mega inauguration of the new parliament building, Supreme Court dismisses plea on new Sansad showdown. Prime Minister Modi to issue new coin of 75 rupees to commemorate the event. China builds model villages opposite LAC, adjacent to Uttarakhand. Sources say model villages of 250 houses built by China. Tamil Nadu Mantri under IT scanner, offices and homes connected to DMK Mantri Senthil Balaji has been raided. And fight over free power and bus rides in Karnataka. BJP Neta says don't pay electricity bills. Opposition calls for a mega protest. Karnataka Mantri assures free power. All right, now the politics over Sengol has taken a new turn after Congress MP Jairam Ramesh questioned the veracity of the story of Lord Mountbatten handing over the Sengol to the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. Union Minister, Home Minister Amit Shah has now launched a fresh salvo, an attack at the Congress party, claiming that Congress reduced this historic scepter to a mere walking stick. Amit Shah has accused Congress of insulting Indian tradition, earlier claiming that the story of Rajaji or C. Rajagopalachari, describing the scepter as a symbol of transfer of power from the British to India, as complete bogus. Jairam Ramesh has called this entire story a manufactured one. He further accused the Prime Minister of misusing the scepter for political gains in Tamil Nadu.
वो नए पार्लियामेंट का विरोध कर रहे थे क्योंकि वो मोदी जी का विरोध करना चाहते थे, लेकिन उसका विरोध करते करते अपने एक नाकामयाब लीडर की शख्सियत को बचाने के लिए, एक नकारे हुए राहुल गांधी जी की शख्सियत को बचाने के लिए उन्होंने अपने सबसे बड़े लीडर जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी के इतिहास को भी पूरी तरह से भुला दिया। जयराम रमेश जी द्वारा ऐसी बात कहना ये स्पष्ट करता है कि मोदी जी का विरोध, पार्लियामेंट का विरोध, अब पवित्र संगोल जिसका एक इतिहास है, गौरवमय इतिहास है, भारत आपको कभी माफ़ नहीं करेगा। ये जो इतिहास से आप छेड़छाड़ करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, ये कतई भारत के लोग आपको माफ़ नहीं करेंगे और बर्दाश्त भी नहीं करेंगे।
I wonder if Jairam Ramesh is referring to the HR&C policy note of 2021-22 published by his own allies government, the DMK government, proudly recounting the Sengol ceremony of 1947 as a part and parcel of WhatsApp University. And leave it to the Congress, they might even call Mahatma Gandhi's Ram Rajya Satyamev Jayate as communal. So please, let's ask Mr. Jairam Ramesh why he did a U-turn on his 2012 stand on the Parliament building, and please ask him about the HR&C note of the DMK government published in 21-22, which signifies and symbolizes the importance of the Sengol in 1947. Perhaps that would not qualify as WhatsApp University history for him.
What is Sengol? Whether it is transfer, it is a symbol of transfer of power or what. But important thing is, this Sengol was, how did we get it? After so long, our freedom fighters fought, then we got it. Who got it? Jawaharlal Nehru. Mountbatten had handed it over to Jawaharlal Nehru. How can Narendra Modi ji say that we are insulting it? They don't have respect for those who have sacrificed for the country. And their real face, we can see that they are going to inaugurate on the birthday of Savarkar, not on the birthday of Gandhiji.
All right, as we see politics playing out on that, we're going to get some reactions from the party spokespersons itself. Mohan Kumar Mangalam, Congress spokesperson, joining us. We also will have Anila Singh of the BJP to give us the perspective of the party as they accuse. BJP accuses the Congress of disrespecting Hindu rituals. Do tell us, Mohan, what's the Congress's response when the BJP has now presented, in fact, reintroduced the Sengol back into the parliament? 28th of May is when the Prime Minister himself will be placing this right next to the Speaker's chair, and this will be done through a grand procession. And in every way, it's a statement sending out. In fact, the BJP has very clearly jotted down on the kind of insult that the Congress has given to this very golden piece of history.
I have no qualms, or rather the Congress party has no qualms with the Prime Minister reintroducing the Sengol, or rather introducing the Sengol into Parliament. I think what we're taking exception with is the story that is being weaved around it that has no basis in history. You'd have to forgive me if I have a scientific temper, as is my fundamental duty under Article 51A, and I don't take for granted the words of an auditor of balance sheets who is an editor of a magazine, and which is the only place this is to be found. This information that this Sengol was developed and given to Mountbatten to be handed to Nehruji as a symbol of transfer of power. I haven't seen this anywhere else, and we have annals of books on the history of our independence and what came after it as well. And whether it is books written by Rajaji, whether it is books written by our first Prime Minister, Mr. Nehru, or any other reputed historians, I haven't seen any mention of something as significant as a Sengol being used as a symbol of transfer of power. And that is what we're questioning. And you cannot escape from the fact that the BJP is trying to do politics on this, because they sent the finance minister yesterday to Chennai to do a press conference, especially about this, where she talked about some docket of supporting evidence when not us, but the rational thinking press of Tamil Nadu raised questions on where they found evidence to this fact. And she's referred to some docket that ironically had a note by a famous writer in Tamil Nadu called Mr. Jain, where he's actually talked about how this is yet another edition of WhatsApp history, and how WhatsApp University is now becoming one of the biggest miseducation universities in India.
The artists who hail from Tamil Nadu, who spoke to India Today, who, in fact, one of the ladies, Padma, who shot a letter, narrating this story about how the British handed over this symbol, which is a symbol of good governance, which was given by a seal to the British to the first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. All right, what according to Congress is the history of this Sengol?
So I think the history of the Sengol, as far as I can tell, is it was gifted to Prime Minister Nehru by the seers who came there. It has no involvement, at least I have not found any evidence from history of any consecration of that scepter or creation of it in order for it to serve as a symbol of transfer of power, that it was handed to Mountbatten to be handed to our first Prime Minister, Mr. Nehru. I haven't seen evidence to that fact anywhere. As I understand it, it was created to be given to Mr. Nehru on the eve of our independence. And it was gifted by the seers who came there. That is, as far as I can tell, is recorded in history. Beyond that, it is just conjecture.
All right, at the same time, this almost came as a counterattack by the BJP, saying that the Congress is disrespecting tradition, not just in the rituals, but also disrespecting the parliament itself, considering that you all have decided to boycott this new parliament building's inauguration by Prime Minister Modi. We get your point, but the latest development here is that the Supreme Court at this point has found no merit in that petition that claims that this is illegal. On legal grounds, there is no merit itself. So it's almost a big boost to the BJP and makes the opposition look trivial at this point.
I think that would be your opinion, because this is maybe even
I'm basing my opinion on the Supreme Court's order now.
The Supreme Court's order I have not read, so I can't comment on it in detail, but I can tell you that I don't think the Supreme Court would rule over something of this sort anyway. It isn't something that comes under the jurisdiction. Frankly, there was somebody who went and filed a PIL, and we expected that the result of that PIL would be the Supreme Court saying that they are not interfering with this in any which way. Our objections still hold. The Supreme Court didn't rule in any way on whether the president should be or shouldn't be at that place. And these are all democratic.
That they're not going to. The Supreme Court has said that they're not going to entertain this petition, considering that this is only an inaugural ceremony. It's not an assembly which we're talking about. It's an inauguration where the head of government, Prime Minister Modi, is going to be inaugurating. It's not an assembly session that's kicking off. And to that effect, it does not come under their jurisdiction. It is, and legalities here does not hold water.
As I said, I expected, and that's what I said, even though I haven't read the order, it is not in the jurisdiction. So I would expect that the ruling would be of this kind. We are talking about norms. We're talking about democratic norms. And we made our case several times over on why we think the president should be inaugurating it. So I don't want to repeat myself again and again on that.
Oh, yeah, but you are here to give us your perspective and the Congress's perspective, even if you have to repeat it. But stay with us. We have the BJP's spokesperson as well. Let me cut across to her. Anila Singh joining us. Anila, a quick word as to why does the BJP feel that the Congress has disrespected Hindu tradition when the Congress believes that y'all are manufacturing this whole story around this transfer of power, handing over the Sengol to Jawaharlal Nehru by the British, etc. Absolutely no evidence in history.
My Ram Ram to everyone, and this is not a new news that Congress disrespecting the honor of our country, insulting the values, the culture of our country. They had been doing it since ages, because this is the political party which was manufactured by the Britishers, and they are carrying their legacy till date. So anything which is being done for our culture, for the Indian values, they have to disrespect it. So this is what they are doing it. But the best part is, whole of the nation is observing that what Congress party and other political parties in opposition, they are trying to do. So here we want to respect, we want to somehow encourage our tradition, our culture, and they want to pull it down.
Mohan, go on, Mohan.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, go on.
No, I
Anila
wasn't saying anything. I was just...
sorry, I
Anila
misunderstood. I thought the noise was you trying to speak. But, Anila, here you have the Congress saying that this is a manufactured story. Would you be able to explain to us and our viewers a little perspective, give us some perspective on this legacy of the Sengol? Where did the BJP find this story? How did this come to you? How was it brought to your attention? Give us some significance of the Sengol itself and its past history.
See, if we talk about the Sengol, we very well know that it was a tradition, especially if we talk about the South India, especially if we talk about the Chola Kingdom, we know it very well. It has been the part of our culture, part and parcel of our culture. Now, which is being promoted by the present ruling government or the Prime Minister of our country. So what is the problem with the Congress? Aren't they liking it? They do not want to encourage such traditions in our country.
No.
So what they want to encourage?
The question here is the history.
Islamic countries.
No, hang on. Anila, the question here is about the history of the Sengol. It's not whether you embrace the Sengol or not. It's about the history of the Sengol. While the BJP says that this is a symbol of power that was transferred from the British to India, handed over from by Lord Mountbatten to Jawaharlal Nehru, is there any truth to that? That's the question the Congress is asking, because they claim this is manufactured, concocted stories.
Okay, even if we keep aside the Britishers, so let us talk about our Indian culture, our Indian, the way the power used to be shifted from one king to another one. Can't we discuss that? Is it necessary for everything? For everything, Congress has to bring the controversy. They might be having some sort of grudge that the new building should be constructed. It was started by the Congress party, but they were not able to do so. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, because of his strong political willpower, and he has plans for everything, he made it happen. We are like whole of the nation.
All right, Mohan, first of all, this is an attack that the BJP is making on the Congress post your reservation on Prime Minister inaugurating that building. So whatever the merit of the story here, on one hand, on the other, what you've said, what the opposition parties say collectively, that we are going to boycott it because it's illegal. I'm going to stress on the fact that the Supreme Court has said that there is no merit to the petition. There is nothing illegal in this, because it's a mere inauguration which can totally go ahead with the head of government itself. Prime Minister Modi can go ahead with it. The Supreme Court has said it. So even if you blame the BJP of having no merit in their Sengol story and the history that it comes from, your decision to boycott also on your end doesn't seem to have merit here.
Okay, so let me then get back to what I've been saying for the last 3 days and what our party has also said. And if you look at the letter that has been signed by 19 parties, including the Congress party, we have in nowhere said in that letter that this is an illegal act. We have talked about democratic norms and propriety, and we have said that, and I'm sure the Supreme Court agrees with me here, which is that the Constitution states that the President and 2 houses of Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, are what the Parliament is comprised of. And so if a new Parliament building is going to be inaugurated, we believe that if at least, the foundation stone could have been laid with the President, which again, Mr. Modi tried to corner for himself. Now let the President at least inaugurate this new building. The President, after all, is the first citizen head of our state. That is our objection. We have in nowhere in no terms said that this is illegal. Let me please finish. Let me finish. You've said a number of things.
Secretariats,
if you don't see the difference between an elected president and appointed governors doing this, and if you don't understand the order of precedence, that in the order of precedence, Chief Minister is above, and only the president is above the Prime Minister. And we're talking about a new parliament. We're talking about the temple of democracy of India. I'm not trying to make light of this situation. In fact, we're saying it is an extremely momentous situation, which is why we believe the president should be the one at that place inaugurating the event. So I'm going back to your assertion that the verdict of the Supreme Court somehow defeats our arguments. I want to get you back on that and say that we never made the argument that it is illegal. We're talking about democratic norms and propriety. And we think that will only be served if the president comes and inaugurates. Now, let's get to what the BJP spokesperson was talking about, because there were so many things said there, but she never ever got to the actual point, which is that we are continuously asking, where has this imaginative story come from that this scepter was created, this Sengol was created especially for Lord Mountbatten to hand it over to our first Prime Minister, Mr. Nehru, as a symbol of transference of power? That is the question that we are asking. And I will have you know that as someone from Tamil Nadu, I have read some Tamil literature and history as well, and I haven't seen this mentioned anywhere. One of the people in the photo where Mr. Nehru is holding the Sengol surrounded by the seers is my great-grandfather, who was very close to Mr. Rajaji. I have reams and reams of his correspondence between him and Mr. Nehru and Mr. Sardar Patel and Mr. Rajaji. And I have not seen any mention of this particular Sengol being used for this purpose. So I would love to know where the BJP comes up with this information, which historians have they actually consulted to so assertively make that
Mohan,
case.
could I ask you, then you see no place of the Sengol in the Parliament building? In that case,
I never said
would you say that you see no purpose of the Sengol? No, because the Congress has called this a walking stick. It was kept away in the Nehru Gallery in Ahmedabad, described it as you have a tag there and where it was placed in a nice box, where it's called a walking stick. So do you see no place of the Sengol in the new Parliament?
I will, regardless of what it was labelled in the museum in Allahabad, I will refer you to what Mr. Nehru himself talked about or said about the artifacts in that museum and how he praised the India civilization and said that we should not forget our civilization history. I will refer you to that note when it comes to whether we gave it the due respect or not. And I will have you rewind your tape, because when I started talking, I said that we have no objection to the Sengol being part of Parliament. We believe only in the truth, and we believe that it's important to follow our fundamental duty to have a scientific temper as laid out in our constitution and ask questions to get at the truth. And that's what we're having a hard time with.
You say irrespective of labeling, but even if you go back to history, this is the tradition. This was a tradition within the Chola Empire. It was handed over to, in fact, a seer had handed over to the king. So basically, it's certainly not a walking stick. It was the Congress that labelled it as a walking stick, but it was tradition, as part of Hindu tradition, a seer handing it over to a man in power. So if this was given by a seer even to Jawaharlal Nehru, he was in power. He's the Prime Minister. He was in power. It was handed over as part of tradition. So to relegate it as a walking stick.
Can I ask you a counter question for a minute? Can I interrupt you and ask you a counter question? Since, I'm from Tamil Nadu, and I'm well aware of the history of a Sengol or scepters like that. And it wasn't only used by the Chola dynasty. It was sort of given by seers to kings, sort of enshrining their divine right to rule. Is the Prime Minister crowning himself with this? Because it's a process of enthronement.
Why doesn't Anila respond to that?
Does he see this as a crowning of himself?
Anila?
See, you very well said that it is being mentioned as a walking stick by the Congress party, and it was forgotten after 1947. And this is the most unfortunate trend which was started after 1947. The Congress party, along with left-minded authors, they changed the history. They tried to change the history of our country. They tried to pull down all the great people, all the great kings, all the great empires of our nation. What they encouraged, whenever any foreign ambassador or the guest came to our country, they were gifted Taj Mahal. All right, a Maqbara that was being gifted to them by the Prime Minister or the ruling government. The trend changed, the tradition changed. Prime Minister Modi started gifting Bhagavad Gita. So this is the basic difference. So when we talk about the Sengol, basically I think they have got huge problem because Sengol has got Nandi on it. So the political party which seeks opportunism in everything because of its political gains, I think they have stooped so low. They have stooped so low because of the Nandi on Sengol. They have to create a controversy. And they have to stand in opposition. Everybody says that Parliament is the temple of democracy. Now they are humiliating Parliament. the new parliament building. They are humiliating Sengol. So they are humiliating
We heard the two of you.
and every symbol of the democracy in our country. This is what Congress
thank you
party
very
is.
much. Thank you, Mohan, for joining us. I'm unfortunately short of time, but we heard both your arguments. On one hand, the Congress wanting to boycott with 19 other opposition parties will be staying away from the new parliament building's inauguration by Prime Minister Modi. On the other, BJP's counter-attack on the Congress, saying that Sengol has been insulted because the Congress named this a walking stick, while otherwise it's a tradition and a symbol of transfer of power, which was followed by the Chola Empire. It has been a Hindu ritual, and the Congress keeping it buried for so many years in a museum itself shows their disrespect. The two sides warring, even as there's barely 48 hours for the unveiling of the new parliament building. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating it on Sunday. The inaugural ceremony will be quite a historic one indeed, with traditional rituals that will be carried out, including placing of that golden scepter, the Sengol, as part of a massive procession that will be carrying out. While they take that Sengol, place it right next to the Speaker's chair. All that happening on Sunday. We're going to break that down for you, what it's going to look like. Take a look.
The stage is set for the inauguration of the much-awaited new parliament building. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will open doors to the new temple of democracy on Sunday. Sengol, the golden scepter, which will adorn the new parliament, has become the talk of the town.
When you designed this, when you were...
India Today spoke to the makers of the prestigious Sengol, the family of Vumidi Bangaru Chetty.
Installed in a parliament building.
It took us more than 15 to 20 days. It will take more time, but the people, the technicians are also so interested. They made it easy for us because it is connected with the high hierarchy, and then it was so made.
Inscription and all were given by the Adhinam.
Okay.
And the Nandi was also selected by the Adhinam. And then the carvings, of course, we did it. Now we were told that the Sengol is a transferring symbol of transferring power from one this thing to another recipient.
The inauguration ceremony will feature many Tamil rituals. It will begin with an early morning havan and a multi-religion prayer. Priests from Adhinams or centuries-old Shaiviti mutts in Tamil Nadu will also be present in Lok Sabha. They will purify the Sengol with holy water. The ceremonial scepter will then be handed over to Prime Minister Modi.
செங்கோல் செய்து கொண்டாந்துருக்கேன். அதை மோடி கிட்ட கொடுத்து அதை பார்லிமெண்ட்டில் வைக்கணும். அவங்க அழைப்பின் பேரில் தான், அரசாங்கம் அழைப்பின் பேரில் தான் வந்திருக்கு.
A group playing the Nadaswaram will lead a procession and Prime Minister Modi is expected to walk along with them. The second leg of the event, which will begin afternoon, will see screening of 2 short films. Special commemorative coins and stamps will be released on the occasion. The event will conclude after Prime Minister Modi's address. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, now less than 48 hours for the inauguration of the sprawling new Parliament building. Inauguration event will be happening right from 7 a.m. with a grand puja that will be conducted. The Sengol will be brought into the Parliament House through a procession, which will be handed over to the Prime Minister, who will install it in the glass case right next to the Speaker's podium. Prime Minister Modi will also launch a commemorative 75 rupees coin marking 75 years of independence. The coin will have a new Parliament building's image. It will also have Ashoka emblem marked on it. 25 parties alongside all BJP state CMs are all set to attend this Parliament inauguration by Prime Minister Modi, including Yogi Adityanath and Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Now, the political showdown over inauguration of the new Parliament building continues. BJP has slammed the opposition for boycotting the historic event, while Home Minister Amit Shah has slammed the Congress for politics of negativity. Union Ministers Rajnath Singh, S. Jaishankar have called on the opposition to rethink their boycott calls, urging them not to politicize this event. 20 opposition parties stand firm on their boycott calls, saying that the BJP has insulted President Draupadi Murmu by not asking her to inaugurate the new building. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has now dismissed a petition seeking directions to the Lok Sabha Secretariat to have the Parliament building inaugurated by President Murmu.
ये लोकतंत्र का एक उत्सव है और हमें उस स्पिरिट में लेना चाहिए। ये विवाद का विषय नहीं बनना चाहिए। मुझे लगता है कि राजनीति की भी कुछ सीमा होनी चाहिए और कम से कम ऐसे मौके पे हम पूरे देश को सब मिलजुल कर इसको मनाना चाहिए।
Given that the President is the one who convenes Parliament, who prorogues Parliament, who dissolves Parliament, who calls elections and so on, it would be extremely unwise in the view of many people for the President to be left out of inaugurating the Parliament that may be our building for the next 100 years. So for this reason, it becomes extremely important to respect both points of view.
संसद भवन का उद्घाटन एक ऐतिहासिक अवसर है जो अब 21वीं सदी में दोबारा नहीं आने वाला है और इस शुभ अवसर पर संसद या राष्ट्रपति को विवाद में लाने से किसी को भी बचना चाहिए। संवैधानिक सत्र और सार्वजनिक समारोह का अंतर समझना चाहिए। राजनीतिक विरोध के अनेक अवसर आते जाते रहेंगे।
हम पूछते कहाँ गए वो लोग? अब अटल जी नहीं है, इंदिरा जी नहीं है, बड़े बड़े नेता नहीं है, अब बचे हैं अडवाणी जी। तो क्या उनको बुलाया है? नहीं, जैसे राष्ट्रपति को नहीं बुलाया। सरकार तो कहाँ लोकतंत्र को, डेमोक्रेसी को मानती है या संविधान को मानती है? वो तो ऐसा ही चलेगा।
ये मुख्य सवाल का जवाब नहीं दे रहे हैं कि ऐसे उद्घाटन समारोह में राष्ट्रपति जी की जगह क्यों प्रधानमंत्री? कोई लॉजिक होगा ना। हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, हमारे संविधान के कुछ नियम हैं। ये सब प्रश्न के जवाब न देकर केवल और केवल आरोप लगाना मुझे लगता है वो सही नहीं है, कन्विंसिंग नहीं है और हम इसको रिजेक्ट करते हैं।
Now they are very much affection and respect now they are showing about the Rashtrapati. Why they put candidate against her? I wanted to ask them. Even future also, I think they will not going to attend the parliament. Today, okay, they're boycotting. Then future what they will do? The same parliament they have to attend. All these things only to divert the people attention.
All right, on that note, I'm going to slip into a short break. We'll be right back. On the other side, the fight over free power and bus rides in Karnataka continues. Karnataka Mantri now assures free electricity, while we see the action hasn't yet come into effect on ground. More details up next.
The heart of India's tech industry hosts a tectonic event. The latest updates in technology and innovation. The biggest names in Indian tech under one roof. From AI to 5G. From EVs to data security. Discover how technology is transforming our lives. Catch all the action at the BT Tech Today Congress in Bengaluru on June 2nd. Live across the Business Today multiverse.
Equality Today. In Delhi, 61. In Mumbai, 51. In Kolkata, 51. In Bangalore, 68. In Chennai, 45. In Hyderabad, 52.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
First conversation of many that we hope to have here, and Goa at this time of the year, hot. Yeah. But how's the action in the media, advertising, creative fraternity at this time of the year, Josie?
I think there's greater sweat there than right now in the Goa weather. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of action, and I'm sure a lot of aggression as well. So
I thought I'm going to ask you, who is sweating? Is it the advertiser who is sweating because of some signs of economic weakness?
No, I think it's just the seizing of the opportunity and the optimism that's there. So I don't think it's coming from a negative place. It's coming from this need to quickly get into the action and seize things.
Okay. And what are the opportunities that people are looking to seize at this time of the year? We don't have to tell our viewers how business and life and society has changed over the last 2 years, starting with COVID.
Yeah.
Then all.
Right, here's some big news coming in as Rahul Gandhi has been granted an NOC for 3 years for issuance of fresh ordinary passport. Rahul Gandhi's plea has partly been allowed by the Delhi's Rose Avenue court. Rahul Gandhi had sought NOC for 10 years. Subramanian Swamy had opposed and said NOC should be granted for a maximum of 1 year only. No objection for 3 years for issuance for passport. Rahul Gandhi's passport was in question. He had sought no objection for 10 years. And now the court grants no objection for 3 years only. Rahul Gandhi granted NOC for 3 years for issuance for his fresh passport, the issuance of his passport. He had asked for 10 years, no objection, while the court has now granted only 3 years. We cut across Shrishti Oja joining us on the phone line for a little more clarity on this. Go on, Shrishti, tell us a little more about the issue with Rahul Gandhi's passport. What was the problem, and what has the court now decided?
Well, yes, Jamila, Rahul Gandhi, as we know, has approached Delhi's Rao Avenue Court seeking a no objection certificate to obtain a fresh ordinary passport which would be valid for 10 years. This was after he surrendered his diplomatic passport, because remember, as an MP, as a member of parliament, you have a diplomatic passport. After his recent conviction and the subsequent disqualification as a Lok Sabha MP, now he needs to apply for an ordinary passport, and for that you need no objection certificate from court where cases against you are pending. In this particular case, the National Herald case is pending before Delhi's Rao Avenue Court. Therefore, he sought an NOC for 10 years. However, BJP leader Subramanian Swamy, who is complainant in that case, opposed his plea and said that there's no valid reason to grant Rahul Gandhi an NOC for 10 years, and maximum for 1 year an NOC can be granted to him, because as per the rules and regulations for people against whom criminal cases are pending more than 1 year, an NOC should not be granted. Rahul Gandhi's lawyers, however, have told court that right to travel is a fundamental right, and even earlier in this case, he has been on bail. There's no possibility of him absconding, and even the courts in the past have not imposed any restrictions on Rahul Gandhi as far as traveling is concerned. After considering all those submissions, the court has partly allowed Rahul Gandhi's plea. They've granted him permission, they've granted him an NOC, but only for 3 years as of now. So, as opposed to a 10-year request, as of now, he gets an NOC, he can apply for an ordinary passport, but only for 3 years. Back to you.
All right, now 3 years that there's been approval given by the court as opposed to what was requested by Rahul Gandhi for 10 years. Thank you very much, Shrishti, for joining us on that. All right, now Karnataka Siddaramaiah government faces backlash over delay in implementing the 5-poll guarantees that they made to the people. With voters now mounting pressure on the government, BJP has trained its guns at the state government. BJP MP Pratap Simha has called for a statewide protest from June if the Congress does not fulfill poll guarantees, if they're not provided 200 units of free electricity to the people of Karnataka. Remember, the Congress has waived a bunch of freebies in their poll manifesto. They've in fact added a few, quite a list of freebies that they promised to give out to the public if they voted for the Congress, including free electricity, incentives for unemployed graduates, 2,000 rupees for women, and free bus travel for all women. Now, Karnataka State Road Transport Department has written to the government requesting to implement the promise of free bus travel, as the women in rural areas currently refusing to buy bus tickets. State Road Transport Department has said that this often leads to arguments between the women boarding those buses and the staff on board.
Chief Minister could take a decision on this instead of telling in policy approve. So far as 4 corporations are concerned, they don't have a specific direction from government. At least some small effort was made here for the women to move about freely in the state buses. Therefore, immediately take a decision, give a direction. That is number one. There should be a peaceful atmosphere in this state. Secondly, the corporation need money. So have an assessment somewhere near them and give that money on an advance basis.
This is what they have promised, guaranteed, not even a second, I will sit in the chair, not even a second, now many days over, still we are not seeing, let us see, and people are asking for it. They have said the statement, not even a second I will sit in the chair unless I complete all these wishes. Whatever has been guaranteed by the Congress party, they need to implement, so people are not willing to pay what they have said, they should stand by it.
June 1ನೇ ತಾರೀಕಿಂದ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ರಾಜ್ಯ ಜನರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಕರೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಮೈಸೂರಿನ ಸಂಸದನಾಗಿ ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಕ್ಷನಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಕರೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ನಾನು ಮೈಸೂರು ಮತ್ತು ಕೊಡಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಹೋರಾಟನೂ ಕೂಡ ಕೈಗೆತ್ತಿಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. 1ನೇ ತಾರೀಕಿಂದ 200 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಗಿಂತ ಕಡಿಮೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಬಿಲ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಯಾರನ್ನೂ ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಡಿ. 200 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಗಿಂತ 205 ಆಯಿತು, 210 ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಆ 10 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಗೋ 5 ಯೂನಿಟ್ಗೋ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬಿಲ್ ಕೊಡಿ. 200 ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಫ್ರೀ. ನೀವು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಇದನ್ನ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಾತಿನಂತೆ ನಾವೇ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ನಾವಾಗೆ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಕೇಳಕ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು 200 ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಡಲೇಬೇಕು.
Initial hiccups are always there whenever there is a new scheme or new project is launched. Always. Those initial things, maybe another week or so, we will resolve it. It's not that we are not going to resolve. We will resolve. We have already issued the government orders. We will do it.
It is very difficult to implement all these programs, according to me. Siddaramaiah is not an ordinary man. He presented 13 budget of Karnataka state. He doesn't know about the financial condition of our state. When they wanted vote from Karnataka citizens, there is no question of any bar, any guidelines. Now they wanted to put some guidelines. Let us see what they will going to do.
All right, some big news coming in as Asiana Airlines, the plane door opened up midway shortly after its takeoff, right at the airport in South Korean city, Daegu. Asiana Airlines A321 lands safely at Daegu Airport in South Korea after the emergency exit door was opened up by a passenger on board. 9 people taken to the hospital with breathing difficulties. Man arrested after opening that door as the plane prepared to land in South Korea. 9 people have now been rushed to a hospital. These are visuals there that you see when soon after a passenger pulled open the emergency exit door just before the plane landed. Let me cut across to Pallavi Saha for more on that. Pallavi, tell us more. We have this visual here showing the Asiana Airlines plane door, the emergency exit door, which is not supposed to be touched. A passenger pulling that open resulted in health hazards. A bunch of those people, passengers there, rushed to a hospital with breathing issues.
Absolutely, very dramatic pictures as you see right now on your screens, Nabila, because this was very distressing and a very shocking incident for the passengers, the 194 passengers that were on board this Asiana Air flight, which in fact was going into this South Korean city of Daegu, when in fact this passenger, who is said to be in his 30s, in fact opened the emergency door of the Asiana Airlines flight. He, in fact, has been arrested upon landing, is what we're being told by news agencies that are reporting from the ground. At least half a dozen passengers, Nabila, experienced breathing problems and were taken to hospital immediately. A very distressing situation. This was flight OZ8124 that had taken off from the Jeju Island on Friday morning, local time over there. While it's very unclear as to when it possibly happened, but the closest information we have is that the door was opened almost when the flight was approaching its destination. So just towards the end is when this happened. The timeline of events, though, the specific timeline of events is unclear at the moment. In fact, as you can see, these are videos that were shot by passengers who, in fact, showed the gap in the plane side and the winds that were buffeting the rows of seated passengers. It was an extremely distressing moment for all of them who were on board this aircraft. Like I said, there were 194 passengers on board. Asiana Airlines, in fact, has said that the police has launched a full investigation. But like I said, the passenger who opened, allegedly, the emergency exit door has been arrested upon landing.
Well, we're unfortunate that those passengers had to be rushed to a hospital due to one man's fault, his irresponsibility, that careless attitude resulted in at least 9 passengers being rushed to a hospital. As this Asiana plane has finally landed safely, that man has been arrested. Thank you, Palmi, for joining us. Right now, Flight Lieutenant Shivangi Singh is India's first and only female Rafale fighter pilot. She has been flying the fighter aircraft over the Ladakh sector amid the standoff with China. Clearly, sky is the limit for her. For flight, in fact, Shivangi is one of the first, and we wish her a very happy huntings and happy landings.
It is a historic moment for women in armed forces. Flight Lieutenant Shivangi Singh, the first woman pilot of the Indian Air Force to fly the Rafale, took part in the multinational military exercise Orion in France. This is the first time India has sent its Rafale fighter jets to take part in a military drill.
It was a great experience for all of us. We were exposed to challenging missions with compressed timelines. The interaction with the pilots of other nations gave us the overview of their operations as well as their ways of working. The performance of our pilots were at par with all the other nations. The Indian Rafales, being one of the best omni-role fighters in the world, were carrying out all the missions successfully with precision and perfection.
Flight Lieutenant Shivangi Singh had earlier flown extensively in exercises during the border standoff with China.
हमारी चुनौती एयरक्राफ्ट से ही रिलेटेड है और एयरक्राफ्ट वहाँ पे अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है. इसकी वजह से ही हम अभी भी वहाँ पे हैं एंड हम सारे एक्सपेक्टेशंस को मीट कर पा रहे हैं.
Shivangi Singh joined the Air Force in 2017. She is part of the 17th Squadron, the Golden Arrows based in Ambala. Before flying the Rafale, Shivangi also flew MiG-21 Bison.
2 squadrons of Rafale fighter aircraft are deployed in the Ambala and Hashimara near China border. The men and women pilots of the squadron are making the country proud both globally and internally in this situation like the one in Ladakh. With camera person Anil Jaiswal, this is Manjit Negi for India Today.
All right, time now for a short break. Coming up on the other side, the noose now tightening around Imran Khan. PTI chief Imran on no-fly list. Defiant Imran Khan now moves the Supreme Court. Stay tuned. Bringing you more details on that on the other side.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Right now, mega crackdown in Lahore. Lahore Corps commanders house as riots begin. An anti-terrorism court in Lahore has ordered the government to hand over all accused of attacking the Lahore Corps commanders' flag staff house to the Pakistan Army. Commanding officer of the unit who's been tasked with protecting the Lahore cantonment has now sought the custody of 16 accused of being directly involved in the attack on Jinnah House. They will now be tried under special provisions of the Pakistan Army Act 1952 by a special military court.
मैं ये कमेटी बनाता हूं, मैं दो चीजें कहता हूं, दो चीजें करते हैं। अगर इस कमेटी को ये बैठ के कह दें कि जी इमरान खान के बगैर पाकिस्तान बेहतर हो जाएगा और आपके पास कोई सलूशन है, मैं फिर से कहता हूं कि इस मुल्क की खातिर मैं छोड़ देता हूं, मैं पीछे हट जाता हूं। अगर आप ये कमेटी को समझा दें कि मेरे बगैर मुल्क बेहतर चलेगा, चले मैं मुल्क की खातिर ये भी छोड़ने के लिए तैयार हूं। या इस कमेटी को ये कह दें कि अक्टूबर में इलेक्शन करवाने से पाकिस्तान को क्या फायदा है। ये तो हमें समझ आ रही है कि अक्टूबर तक तहरीक इंसाफ को इनका ख्याल है क्रश कर देंगे, लेकिन पाकिस्तान को क्या फायदा है। हम क्यों अक्टूबर तक इंतजार कर रहे हैं जब मुल्क नीचे जा रहा है। या ये दो चीजें कन्विंस कर दें, मैं इसकी कमेटी बनाऊंगा, मैं इंशाल्लाह कल अनाउंस कर दूंगा।
Right now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi returned to New Delhi from a very successful three-nation tour. In fact, the Australian Prime Minister called him the boss. The American President asked him for his autograph. All this praise that's coming in the way to Prime Minister Narendra Modi seems like is making Pakistan slightly envious. Here's a look at why.
और उधर उन्हें ऐसा प्रोटोकॉल मिला कि आसमान पे मोदी लिखा हुआ है और मोदी साहब क्या कह रहे हैं कि वो है इंडिया।
इस आदमी की ये है, क्या है, करिश्मा है, होल्ड ओवर द पीपल ऐसा है, इतना पॉपुलर है।
इंडिया के प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने आपको पता है क्या कहा मोदी को? उसने कहा मोदी यू आर बॉस। अब आप सोच लें आपके लिए क्या लफ्ज इस्तेमाल होते हैं पूरी दुनिया में।
और बड़ी एक खबर में देख रही थी, मैंने कहा प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन ने किसी का ऑटोग्राफ मांगा है, तो वो कौन है जिसका ऑटोग्राफ प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन मांग रहे हैं?
आई लाइक मोदी, आई लव मोदी।
The rockstar reception received by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Sydney, Australia, has even his most trenchant critics in Pakistan in absolute awe.
इस आदमी की ये है, क्या है, करिश्मा है, होल्ड ओवर द पीपल ऐसा है, इतना पॉपुलर है.
Listen to this comment of Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese calling Prime Minister Narendra Modi the boss.
The last time I saw someone on the stage here was Bruce Springsteen, and he didn't get the welcome that Prime Minister Modi has got. Prime Minister Modi is the boss.
From television studios to the streets of Lahore, Pakistanis just cannot stop talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi being acknowledged as the boss overseas.
देखिए अभी पूरी दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है कि मोदी साहब का आसमानों पे नाम लिखा जा रहा है. किसी मुल्क के वजीर आजम जो हैं वो मोदी साहब के पाँव छू रहे हैं. अमेरिकन जो सदर हैं वो मोदी साहब को प्रोटोकॉल दे रहे हैं और मोदी साहब को बॉस कहा जा रहा है.
In fact, YouTubers and social media in Pakistan is abuzz with Modi's name being emblazoned across the skies of Sydney. The fact that US President Joe Biden walked up to Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Hiroshima and sought his autograph ahead of the state dinner, saying tickets have already been sold out for the Prime Minister's dinner and people continue to seek more tickets, has journalists in Pakistan virtually spellbound.
तो हुआ कुछ यूं है, आप जानते हैं क्वाड की जो मीटिंग थी उसकी जो G7 की क्वाड की साइडलाइन मीटिंग जो है उसमें उनकी जो मुलाकात हुई इंडिया के पीएम मोदी के साथ, तो उस पर उन्होंने वो खुद से उनके पास चल कर आए और उन्होंने कहा कि यू आर टू पॉपुलर. जो आवाम है वहाँ पर आपकी क्रेजी हो रही है और जो हमारी टिकट्स हैं, आपको पता है ना कि विजिट है इंडिया का वो वॉशिंगटन में जो है उसमें व्हाइट हाउस में, तो उसके लिए जो उनकी टिकट्स हैं वो ऑलरेडी सोल्ड आउट.
Analysts argue it's India's growing international stature and ability to help countries that has taken India to newer heights. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's stature is being compared to top global leaders who visit multiple countries in a single foreign visit.
भारत के वजीर आज़म जो नरेंद्र मोदी हैं, उन्होंने क्या ग्लोबल लीडर की तरह एक्ट करना शुरू कर दिया है. बाइडेन हो या फ्रेंच प्रेसिडेंट हो या जो बड़े लीडर्स हैं, वो जब एक दफ़ा मुल्क से निकलते हैं तो वो सिर्फ एक मुल्क के लिए नहीं निकलते, वो 2, 3, 4, 5 मुल्कों के लिए निकलते हैं. पूरा एक सीरीज़ करते हैं वो. तो मोदी साहब जो हैं वो भी इसी तरह जो है वो एक सीरीज़ ऑफ विजिट्स करते हैं.
With India's growing stature and Pakistan falling to new lows, civil society in Pakistan is urging their establishment to forget their Kashmir obsession and seek better ties with India for this region to progress. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, politics over the Sengol. In the news, Sansad erupts after Congress accuses BJP of spreading fake narratives over Sengol. BJP hits out, says history of the Sengol was shamelessly buried by the Congress. All that and more on the other side. Do stay tuned to India Today.
Forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 28 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 23 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 29 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 39 and minimum 27 degrees.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mode.
Powered by The world comes together at Sharda University.
Very good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. The headlines first. Politics erupts over Sengol in the new Sansad after Congress accused BJP of spreading fake narratives over the Sengol. Home Minister Amit Shah hits out at the Congress, says the Sengol has been reduced to a mere walking stick by the Congress. 48 hours before the mega inauguration of new parliament, Supreme Court dismisses plea on the new Sansad showdown, paving the way for Modi government to inaugurate this massive parliament building, along with introducing a new 75 rupees coin to commemorate 75 years of independence. Fight over free power and bus rides in Karnataka continues. BJP Neta says don't pay electricity bills. Opposition calls for mega protest. Karnataka Mantri assures free power will be coming into action soon. Give us more time. Rahul Gandhi granted no objection for 3 years for issuance of ordinary passport. Rahul had sought NOC for 10 years. China builds model villages opposite LAC adjacent to Uttarakhand. Sources say model villages of 250 houses built by China. All right, here's some big news coming in on the Sengol as politics around it intensifies. Adhinam priest issues a clarification on the Sengol, says Adhinam gave Sengol to Lord Mountbatten. Adhinam says he took the Sengol, the priest took the Sengol back from Lord Mountbatten. This is the priest of Adhinam saying that Adhinam gave the Sengol to Lord Mountbatten and took the Sengol back from Lord Mountbatten. Priest here issuing a clarification. In fact, the politics there as it intensifies, the Adhinam priest saying that he gave the Sengol to Lord Mountbatten. The priest gave the Sengol to Lord Mountbatten and took the Sengol back from Lord Mountbatten. Is now as an opposition, the Congress itself, where the BJP has blamed the Congress of disrespecting Hindu rituals and reducing this symbol of power as a mere walking stick of Jawaharlal Nehru. Here is the Adhinam priest who's come out to clarify that this very relic was something that was handed over by the priest to Lord Mountbatten and took it back from Lord Mountbatten. This is what the Adhinam priest has said in clarification. Congress questioning the BJP as to where have they found a story that suggested Lord Mountbatten of the British had handed over this scepter to Jawaharlal Nehru. That story is not part of history books, is what the Congress says. Adhinam priest now coming out with a clarification saying it was the Adhinam priest who handed over the Sengol to Lord Mountbatten and it was then taken back from Lord Mountbatten. I'm going to try and cut to Polami Saha to hopefully bring us some more clarification on this. the Adhinam priest now saying the Sengol was given to Lord Mountbatten and then taken back from Lord Mountbatten. A lot of questions about the history of the Sengol itself. So many versions that are coming to fore. Paulmi Saha for more on that. Paulmi, give us a clarification. We hear that Adhinam priest has responded to all this controversy around the Sengol itself and says that this is a symbol of power that was handed over by the seer to Lord Mountbatten and taken back from Lord Mountbatten. What does he mean?
Well, basically, this is a statement, an official statement, which has in fact been released by Thiruvadurai Adhinam, which is the mutt which was involved in the Sengol ceremony. It was the mutt which was entrusted with the responsibility of making the Sengol for what was to signify transfer of power from the British to independent India to specifically then Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. This is the same mutt which will be performing the ceremony on May 28th at the new Parliament building as well. What they've basically said, because the Congress has raised questions, and specifically Jairam Ramesh has said, raised questions saying, yes, there was a ritual where in fact this Sengol was handed over to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru on the 14th of August night, 1947. But this was not a transfer of power. There was no question of Lord Mountbatten having been there and this entire exercise that happened. But this is what has been maintained by the government. And now the official statement from the Adhinam itself, from the mutt itself, which said that it has been well documented by multiple sources that our Adhinam honoured the invite of Rajaji, which is C. Rajgopalachari, and we got a Sengol made, gave it to Lord Mountbatten, got it back from him and presented it to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in an elaborate ritual. Because what they wanted, Nabila, the significance of this, as has been recorded, it's basically you didn't want to show a direct, like the British were giving away power and like they were, obliging us by handing over power to independent India, to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So what was done was that the Sengol was brought in by the priests from the mutt. They gave it to Lord Mountbatten. He gave it to them. They sprinkled holy water on it. And then the seers themselves, handed it over to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It went in a manner that it went from our own seers to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and it signifies self-rule. It basically, they read out a few scriptures at that point of time as well.